Peace and welcome to Oddly Familiar. In this episode, we will be taking a look at sound effects and samples that you may have thought were familiar. These are direct samples, so there is no debate on if they sound alike or not. They have been lifted out of one source material and used in another. And today, we will be spilling the beans and let everyone know exactly where they came from. So let's get this started. To kick off our list at number 10, we have the Wilhelm scream. This scream originated in the 1951 film Distant Drums when the character Private Jessup is attacked by an alligator. The name originates from the 1953 film The Charge at Feather River, where a soldier named Wilhelm screams after being shot in the leg.
Wilhelm!
Yeah, I'll just fill my pipe.
Since then, it has been used in many films and video games. I will not be going over every single game that uses it, but let's get it out of the way, otherwise there might be a ton of different submissions about this one scream. Here are a few examples of where you may have heard the Wilhelm scream.
So wuchs auch die Macht der Olympia. Wir schufen eine Welt des...
From all my research on this scream, I have estimated the number of games to use this exact scream to be at least 190, and this is only known instances. There are probably more out there that have yet to be found. Our number 9 spot is held by one of my favorite beat-em-up games. This comes from Stage 1 on the arcade version of Golden Axe. Maybe the Genesis sound chip couldn't handle this extra sound. Not only is Golden Axe one of my favorite beat-em-up games, as I mentioned, it's also one of my favorite Sega Genesis games. I have played it quite a bit. While watching the movie RAMBO, I heard this. When this guy gets thrown from this helicopter, I had a flashback to swinging around 16-bit axes, and I thought of Gilius Thunderhead. If you haven't played the original Golden Axe game, I would recommend it. If you can't get your hands on the arcade version, then the next best thing would be on the Sega Genesis. In at number 8, we have another Sega game, and it's also another beat-em-up. This game was released the next year after Golden Axe, and it's a difficult game, but one thing that will help you on your quest, and it's one of the coolest parts about the game, is the transformation scene. When I was a kid, this scene alone made me want to play more. You go from just a regular guy to a werewolf. And on each stage, you transform into a different beast. So I couldn't wait to play more of the game. But little did I know, that sound effect during the transformation was from the movie American Werewolf in London.
It's a dead end down there!
Now, on the exact opposite end of the spectrum, the first time I saw this movie, I was about 5 years old, and I was okay until this scene. It kind of freaked me out, so I didn't watch the rest of the movie. Little did I know that sound would appear years later in a game I couldn't wait to get more of. Lucky number 7 is one that made me laugh the most on this entire list. From the game Sonic Rush on the Nintendo DS, if you listen closely during the song Metal Scratchin', listen for the words, "Go ahead, scratch me." The reason this one made me laugh was the source material. I would have never guessed that the voice sample was from something as simple as a Looney Tunes cartoon. Starring Sylvester and Spike, released in 1952, here is a short named Tree for Two.
The pussycat's gonna scratch me. Ah, go on, scratch me. Go ahead, scratch me. I dare you to scratch me.
All I can say about this one, be careful what you wish for. You just might get scratched. Number 6 is one that has been removed. If you manage to get your hands on one of the first copies of The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time on the Nintendo 64, once you reach the Fire Temple, you will hear this, the Fire Temple theme. This sample comes from a sound library, and if you want to find it, look for Voice Spectral Volume 1, Track 76, and it should sound like this. This chant has been removed and the theme has been replaced with a new song. Many people believe there was a public outcry and that's why Nintendo removed it, but that's not the case. Nintendo has a no religion policy. Now that you have heard the sample, here is what Nintendo replaced it with. Our number 5 spot comes from Golden Axe yet again. It's a sound in the arcade game only. Once you get past the first few levels, you will start to see the skeleton enemies. And when you kill one, you will hear this sound. This is another one that I didn't catch until about a decade later when I just happened to be watching a movie and this scream rang out. Here is the original Conan the Barbarian from 1982, starring Arnold himself.
Good.
Conan the Barbarian and Golden Axe both seem to fit in the same time setting. Both are around the Dark Ages or medieval times with dragons, knights, and magic. Think of the Game of Thrones, and you know exactly what setting I mean. Unlucky number 4 is Sonic CD on the Sega CD. Released in 1993, this game uses a sample that not many people know about. It is only featured in the Japanese and the PAL versions of the game. Once you reach Eggman, you will hear his theme, and it goes like this. There is a small vocal sample mixed in there, and the voice says, "Work that sucker to death." And this was an easy sample to find, because it comes from a song by Xavier, and the song name is, you guessed it, "Work That Sucker to Death." The song by Xavier features George Clinton, one of the most popular funk artists of all time. It was released in 1981, and it appeared on Soul Train in 1982. Over a decade before the Sonic CD game was released. But I do give some credit to the composer of Sonic CD for using such an obscure sample. Number 3 is another Altered Beast sound. You will hear this on the arcade and the Genesis versions of the game. The Genesis version is a little lower quality, but it is the same sample. The source of this sample is the exact same as the previous Altered Beast entry, and both of the samples take place within a 3-minute span. It's from American Werewolf in London, inside the movie theater during the transformation. I find it interesting that the first sound effect was used for a transformation in the game, and this second sound effect was a transformation in the movie. Needless to say, either the producer liked American Werewolf in London, or he just really liked those werewolf sounds. Number 2 started out as a joke. Uncanny X-Clan member Egg said, "Why don't you find something oddly familiar on shaq-fu as a troll move?" So I turned on the game to listen to all of the background themes for an oddly familiar episode, and as soon as I booted the game up, I heard this. I recognized it instantly. I am a huge Kung Fu fan, and the fight scene that this is from is a classic. From the 1983 movie Shaolin vs. WU-TANG, around the 22-minute mark, you will hear this fight. I was such a Kung Fu fan, I used this fight scene as my ringtone for quite a while. So as soon as I turned on the game, I kind of laughed because it took me about 30 seconds to find something oddly familiar, but it wasn't a song. So I saved it for this episode. Number 1 is my favorite on the list by far, and it comes from another Golden Axe game. This time it's from the Revenge of Death Adder. Once you kill the first boss, you will hear him scream this out. If you didn't catch that one, let me give you a hint. Think of 4 Ninja Turtles. Then think of the very first Ninja Turtle movie. When it was released back in 1990, all of my friends wanted to go see it. Well, one scene during the movie, after getting in a fight with Casey Jones, RAPH screams this.
I'm not finished with you! Damn!
I think a lot of parents were surprised by this one. The movie is rated PG and not PG-13, so I don't know how many people were expecting one of the turtles to scream it out loud at the top of his lungs for everyone to hear. So with episode 9 in the books, let me know what you guys think of this style. I will still be doing oddly familiar songs, but I do like to mix it up every now and then. Feel free to leave any oddly familiar sound effects or songs in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching. I'm ICC. Peace.